How's that?
Perfect, Renato.
Excellent. All right, guys, welcome to our third session. Today we will talk about Google Analytics. It's where things start getting a little bit technical. The first two sessions were quite easy, I'd say. Most people can kind of get into setting up a Gmail account and setting up a Google My Business and setting up Search Console with a little bit of help from their developer to put some code in, or their hosting company to help them with some DNS records. Google Analytics, on the other hand, is a monster. And I'm going to kind of touch on a little bit of the history, where it fits in, how it works, and then I'll show you a setup account and give you an idea of how to read it. As Tracy said, there's a couple of handouts that are coming out. So in the digital marketing space, as with IT and any other space, there's a lot of acronyms. I often get questions about what do acronyms mean. The glossary that I've sent out for you guys today has got a hell of a lot of acronyms in them with a little explanation and what each letter in the acronym actually stands for. So I'm hoping that it'll help you guys a lot while you start your own journey on Google Analytics. So again, another one of Google's free tools that helps you kind of monitor your activity in the digital space. It's a nice little tool, plugs into the back of your website. It monitors your Google ads. It shows you where people are coming from a traffic perspective, who's visiting you, how they're finding you. So Search Console gave you a little bit of a high-level overview of what's happening in the background of your website and a little bit of data, where Google Analytics digs in a lot further and can do a lot more for you when it comes to analyzing your website, analyzing your data, analyzing where your customers are coming from, where your visitors to your website are coming from, who's reading your emails, that you've got tracking on. So a very awesome tool that can help you plan your strategy on how to do things going forward, be it on your website, be it a promotion that you want to run, running Google ads, whatever it is. So we'll touch on what this is today. So let's kind of cover where it comes from. So they've been around since, well, Google Analytics has had its name changed a couple of times, but it's been around since 2015. It is the most widely used analytics tool in the world. We'll show you that. Analytics is installed in over 30 million websites around the world. There's a big chunk of websites that use it to monitor, to make things better, and do various things on the digital marketing platform. So from a WordPress perspective, Google has recently, probably about a year and a half ago, created a tool specifically for WordPress. It's called Google Sidekick, which allows you to install a little app into your WordPress website and connect your Search Console, your analytics, your ads, and do a whole bunch of site activities in the back of your website. So you don't have to go and log on to the actual tools to get a little dashboard view, that it's built into WordPress. So when we started the course, Google allows you to create a single account to log into all of these systems. And what's nice is Google Analytics, you can actually link your other tools that you've set up. So Google Search Console, your website, you can plug it all into the back of Google Analytics. Same with your ads. They all work hand in hand. There's data that's shared across all platforms, which allows you to see a full view of what's actually happening in your digital footprint. So this gives you an idea of how many people around the world are actually using Google Analytics. There's plenty. You can see who they work hand in hand with. So they work very closely with WordPress. They've got all kinds of plugins, and there's a lot of plugins that have been developed outside of Google, which incorporates Google Analytics. I mean, if you use things like Yoast SEO, it allows you to put your Google Analytics ID and everything into it. So it generates reports as well for you in a different format, which is probably a lot easier to read on most. Um, and then obviously when you've got these tools plugged into your website, it doesn't affect the speed and the performance of your website, which is great. It's very light, very, very light. I think Google pulls information rather than feeds information to your website, which is what the tool actually should be doing for you. So here's a report that kind of shows, how often it's been used, who it's been used for, and a comparison on the different sites and offerings that are available out there outside of Google Analytics. You can see it's a leader by a long way in the industry. People, different companies and different website verticals, you can see how it gets used. Again, Google is by far the leader. As I mentioned earlier, the name's changed a little bit. You can see there's Google Analytics and Universal Analytics, and things have changed again. So there's some new additions to this pie chart, if you like. So you can see, people, websites that are in these groups, they've got 10, 100,000, and 1 million are the numbers that you're looking at. They're fairly large. So the tool's around. It's been around for a while. It's proven itself in the market over and over and over again. It's a great tool to have, and they're a leader in their market. And from a support perspective, there's a lot of information that's available. If you're not sure how to do things, there's plenty of YouTube videos and things that can help. There's a lot of people like myself that are out there that can help, and they've got all kinds of certifications, if you like. Google is one of those companies that require its resellers to be certified to a certain degree before it can actually start managing other people's analytics environments. So great tool. So we'll talk about setting it up. Again, I'll share this presentation. The links are in the presentation. The steps are in the presentation, which you'll see as we go through. So obviously, the first thing you do is you're going to open it up by going to google.com analytics. Use the Gmail account you used to log in at the beginning of the course to get into your analytics account. And then we'll go through the various steps to kind of set it all up. So once you've signed in, it will ask you to set up some information. If you've got more than one website, this is the opportunity for you to kind of identify and set it apart from the rest. So like your account name, you could name it your current website name or your business's name. And if you've got a website for different parts of your business, I mean, you can rename it as such. So you can identify when you log into the console, which is which. It obviously wants your website name, so that will be your address, so www, whatever it is, .com.co.za. Obviously, that's very important because we want to manage and monitor that. Then it asks you some information about your data sharing. This is entirely up to you. They do recommend that you do it. What is nice about this is all your data is fed back to Google anonymously, and they use it to make their tools better for us and more user-friendly, and fix errors and things like that, and help you get better information out of the tool on what you're actually doing. Then once you've agreed to all the terms and conditions and everything's set up, you'll be presented with this kind of page. You'll get a tracking code, and again, you could get your web developer, your excuse me, your designer, or whoever's hosting your system for you to add this to your website. Or you can use the tools like Google Sidekick to automatically pull this information in. Or once you've got this all set up, you can just log into the back of your WordPress site, open the app, and connect it up to your Google Analytics, and it'll ask you to log in with the Gmail account that you use to set up. And then it'll take you through a couple of steps to kind of point to the data that you actually want. So there's a couple of ways of you actually being able to set this up to the back of your website. So this is a little bit outdated, but this is one way of doing it. So there's Google Sidekick, which I mentioned, and then there's a couple of other tools, but let's finish with this. So you could if you've got the technical knowledge, you could paste that code into each page, if you like, in the background, or you can use things like your header or your footer. And there's the file name is header.php or footer.php, and paste this into that file, save it up, and off you go. You can test it, and you automatically it will be linked up with Google. You can, while you're going through the Google process, you can go back to Google Analytics and just check that it's working. This is very technical. If you don't understand how to do this, and you don't want to dig your fingers into adding manually, like I said, there are other tools like Monster Insights, Google Sidekick, Yoast SEO, that'll help you pull that information in between your site and analytics. So again, this is in the header of your pages or directly into header.php. And then once you're set up, the data will start flowing between the two sites, between analytics and your website. And then there's a plugin called Monster Insights. I'm not going to walk through this. I mean, if you decide, if you have this installed on your website, you can use this. It's quite a simple process. They've made it very easy for those that don't know how to code. So there's obviously another tool that you can use, Monster Insights, as well as or Google Sidekick. So I've gone through two versions of this. Google Sidekick is probably the easiest one for you to kind of use. Once it's all set up, if you give give the setup a couple of hours, so they recommend 12 to 24 hours before you actually start looking at the data. Data will probably start, if you've got a busy website, will probably start coming through within a couple of minutes. It won't be very good data, but it'll give you an idea. You're linked up, and there's things actually happening on my website. And setting up, there's various properties that we suggest that you set up to help you with the reporting, to get things out, to get the kind of information you want, to help Google integrate with your website and any other things that you're doing online. So this is another step. And then learning about your audience, it asks you, do you allow site tracking? What's your website's website? Where are you based? What kind of area, what area in the world? What's your time zone? And then, the query parameters to set up. So all of the stuff you can go back to later, and you can adjust it. Nothing's cast in stone when you're at this point. You can tweak as you go along and figure things out. And you want to become more technical, or you want to gather a different kind of information. All of these things you can go back and edit them, or create another profile or another goal. As you go through the process, you'll realize, hang on, I want to see how many people actually click on submit in, my email form or my contact form, or how many people click on buy now on your products. You can set those kind of goals up as you go along. So, sorry, I jumped the gun a bit. So we're talking about goals. So I think setting up goals is quite important. It allows you to track what call to action you have on your website. It allows you to track how people interact with your website, and allows you to track the way they, how they interact with your website, how they arrive at your website. Do they do what you want them to do? How are they clicking, the right places? Are they going through the motion of adding to cart, going to the cart? Are they seeing the thank you message at the end of their journey to buying whatever product you have, or doing whatever you want them on your website? And these goals will show up on your homepage, and you can kind of see how many times it has been achieved, how many times it's been done, and you can click down and drill into these things with a lot more detail. So this is kind of what the admin tab looks like once you log in, which I'll show you just now. And you can see there are 3 different columns. One is about your account, one is about your website, and then the next to the right of the website, it's all the properties associated to your website. So there's different settings, there's user management, there's your goals, and this is the process on how to set up a goal. So as you can see, you can either use a template or you can create something on your own. There's a ton of templates out there that are basically already set up, and you can just import it and run it from there. But if you want to do it on your own, it's got a whole bunch of options. So from a revenue perspective, are you getting reservations? Is somebody making a payment? Is somebody made an appointment on the website? As you can see, there's many different things. So has somebody created an account? Has somebody asked for view more, contact you, get a quote? So it's very user friendly if you decide to go the custom route, and easy to follow. I mean, if you make a mistake here, Google won't allow you to move forward. There might be a little error message that pops up and says, we need this information. You need to select something over here for this to work. So I just showed you the template. There's a couple of categories: revenue, acquisition, inquiry, and engagement. Those are the overarching categories that you can use to track what people are doing on your website. And obviously everything is different. I mean, you can have a lot of goals set up on your website, and those goals can each do something completely different. So you could set up a goal for each one of those categories if you like. There are custom goals where you do it all your own and you select the pages that to follow, or the product that you'd like to keep an eye on, or the contact form that you'd like to keep an eye on, or the subscribe button on a specific page that you want to monitor. Then there's smart goals, which is you dig in a little bit further. Again, Google kind of puts this together for you. It's kind of like a template that will automatically do certain things for you. You don't have to go and dig down and do the custom thing and select the various variables, where the smart goal will have those already set up for you in the background. So setting up your goal, again, like I mentioned earlier, with if you've got different websites that you're analyzing, label your goals so that you understand them. So they're understandable to you and potentially anybody else that's going to help you run your analytics platform. Make it legible, easy to understand. So, if somebody comes back, they will log in and be able to see, oh, okay, so you're tracking lead form submissions with this goal. Great, I understand that. And, it's easy for everybody to understand. So when you get to the reporting side of things, you can see the information clearly and understand it clearly. As you go through the setup, it asks you for, your destination, how long you want to run a goal for, how many pages or screens per session, and it gives you all this information that you can click, select, the drop downs. It's got little up and down arrows that you can select quantities and where you want this goal to measure, if it's mobile, website, all that kind of stuff. In the goal details, this is kind of where the destination is, what kind of things you want to track. Is it a monetary value? Is it a conversation? Is it the end goal? Is it somebody reaching your thank you message after they've purchased something? This is where you set all of that stuff up. It becomes quite technical. As you can see, some of the values are optional. Initially, you probably wouldn't use them until you kind of understand how things work. And then you can type in the various kinds of expressions. I've gone blank, sorry. Okay, so there's expressions that you can eventually teach yourself what they are. It's kind of like in Boolean format with a little bit more technical ability, if you like. Then the last step is obviously how long do you want this to run for. So when you're thinking about the duration, you'd probably consider, I'm running an email campaign. I'm sending it out on a Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, and I want to see how many people come from the email onto my website and actually follow through a process. I want this to track that goal for the duration of that. So an email goes out, let's say at 9 o'clock. Most of the people read it before 12, and you know that hopefully from other emails that you sent out in the past, and you could track, how many people did what in that kind of time frame. if you're tracking a promo or a sale item, and that sale item ends, let's say tonight at 5 o'clock, you can set that duration from the time the sale starts to the time that the sale ends, and you can see how that sale actually worked for you. And then there's obviously details about it. So in this example, we've set up an event goal, and it can ask, there's different categories you can select. So in this event, we've asked how many people subscribed, how many times it's been clicked. Did they click the subscribe button, which is what the label is, or it could be sign up now for you. And then the value could be click or didn't click kind of thing. And then you're almost done. So it says you have 100 account limits on Google Analytics. So from a business perspective, I mentioned earlier, you could differentiate your website or your account. If you've got an account managing website A, you can have up to 100 accounts managing your entire business. If you've got 100 websites. So there's some limitations, but it's a huge limitation. I'll allow you guys to read through all of this. I think we want to get into the nitty-gritty. So once your account's up and running, this is kind of the home tab. What are there's some information about what you find on the home tab, how many sessions and interactions you've had in the website, how long those have lasted, bounce rates. So what you're going to understand with bounce rate, the higher it is, the better it is. Sorry, the lower it is, the better it is. What that says is the bounce rate refers to people have come to your website, landed on the page, and left. How many people have actually landed on that page and moved on? So the more people that move on reduces the bounce rate. You want the bounce rate to be as low as possible. And obviously using the analytics, you can see which pages are getting the highest bounce rates. And that could kind of tell you, I've got to change things. Maybe my call to action is too low. Maybe it's too high. Maybe there's too many images, or there's too much text at the beginning of the page, so people are leaving. Maybe I need to reduce the amount of text I have on the page. Maybe the images are too big or too small. It allows you to analyze what's happening on a specific page. And then the conversion rate is obviously what you wanted people to do. So they've landed on the page and you've asked them to fill in a form. It tells you how many people have actually completed that in a percentage. And you can change that to whatever metric you want to view or feel comfortable with. There's a menu on the side, which I'll take you through. It's got various shortcuts and things that you can do. So obviously you land on the homepage, which is where the dashboards are. You can create yourself some shortcuts. You can see real time what's actually happening on your website. How many people are there, which pages they're on. You can have a view of your audience. So male, female, where they are in the world, what kind of operating system they're using, what kind of browser they're using. Are they coming from mobile or a PC? Behavior has got a nice little map that kind of shows you where most people are landing on your website. So is it on the home page, is it on the contact us page, or have you sent them to a sale item, or have they clicked a link in an email? And then you can kind of follow the path that they've gone to. So they've landed on that page, let's say home page, and they've clicked contact us, and they've gone to contact us, potentially filled in the form, and then gone back to your products or service page. You can actually track how they've navigated your website, and you can kind of see where people start dropping off, which is great. And then conversions is how many people have filled in forms and kind of that kind of stuff. But I'll take you through some of that stuff in a minute. So here's a view of the dashboards and the different things you can do with it. You can change how the look and feel. You can change your measurements. You can have it in text. You can have it in a graph. You can have it in a pie chart. And you can track various things. You can set up your dashboards the way you like. Again, there's templates out there to do different things. So if you want to track sales, there's a way to do that. If you want to track how many people have visited you from a phone, how many people have clicked your phone number, there's lots of templates out there that people have already created. It might be a good place for you to start to set something up for yourself if you're not happy with the standard dashboard that Google offers at the get-go. I spoke to you about the real-time reports. There's intelligence events. Some of them you can set up, some of them you can leave out. Sometimes you will or won't use it. It's entirely up to you. And it gives you data about where the traffic's coming from. You can set yourself up with some alerts on this area. Reporting real time, you can see in this example right now there were 11 people on that website at that point. 100% of them have all been using desktops. You can see the page views, the top pages that are active right now. Audience reports. So as I mentioned, you can drill down to where they've come from a country perspective, what kind of browser they're using, what kind of operating system they're using. Is it male, female? Is it mobile? Is it desktop? Again, what's nice about this report is it will give you an idea of where people are coming from, where they're viewing your website the most. So is it mobile? Is it a desktop? And it allows you to tweak your website to meet those clients' demands better. So if you have a website that's not mobile friendly, but a lot of people are coming to your website from a mobile, you'll probably see a big drop off, which will then kind of tell you, hang on, we need to just tweak things a bit and make this a little bit more mobile friendly. So that's from an audience report. That's just one way of looking at it. There's many other things you can look at from an audience report. And the nice thing about these graphs and things, it's all interactive. If you put your cursor or your mouse on any point of the graph, it's got a little pop-up that kind of tells you the date, time, whatever the information is that you're looking at. So in this view, it's showing you sessions, so you can kind of see on a specific date how many people visited your website, how many times things were clicked through, how many users were actually there, etc. And you can click on it and drill down into the report to give you a bit more information. Acquisition reports, again, there's various ways of looking at this. So you get an overview, you can have a look at all your traffic, you can see which AdWords are working for you, which aren't, which search engines people are using to find you, and what you can potentially do to help your website be a bit better. Have you got any visitors coming from social? So if you've got a website and you've got Facebook, Facebook has got this wonderful little tool, just like the code for Google Analytics. It's called a pixel. You can plug it into the back of your website, and Google will see that pixel and read from that pixel and give you a bit of information about, people are coming from Facebook to your website, and these are the pages they're coming from. So behavior is basically, where people are, what they've done, how they've interacted with your website. It helps you kind of check things like how's your site speed, where people are searching, what they're searching for, how they're navigating your website, where they're dropping off, where are conversions happening. So good to have, good to understand what's actually happening on your website. A little bit more in depth of conversions. So this is where you can review your goals. If you've got an e-commerce website, how your sales are working for you. Are people finding your product easily? Are they taking a long time to get to your product? Do you need to change that flow a little bit? If you've got funnels from social media to your website or from emails to your website, you can track how they're working for you. And then obviously customizing, that's, make it look the way you want it to look, make it easier for you to understand, track the data that you want to see. It allows you to, what's nice is that Google allows you to make it your own. I mean, the boilerplate stuff is a great place to start, but you know, there's other things that we generally want to track about our business and the things we do. So this is just the admin tab. I mean, when you log in, if you haven't clicked on home, this allows you to change things about your account, change access into your account, who's got access to do what. So if you've got more than one person managing the system, they can have admin rights or user rights or view rights. You can change all of those kind of things. You can link all your other systems together. So your Google Ads account, your Search Console account, anything you're doing from a marketing perspective, you can plug this all into the back here from this point. You can set up definitions about what you want to track, how you track it. You can set up different filters. You can set up how your store works. So if it's an e-commerce store, you can kind of say, these are my product pages, and this is how they work. And you manage that. You can break your profile into different segments to kind of say, I want to track sales on my website. I want to track people reading my blogs. I want to track how I acquire customers, and are they actually filling in forms. You can track all those kind of things, and you can break them up into different sections and segments if you like. So the metrics, again, which is nice. Initially, there's a boilerplate view of what's happening on your site, what's happening in your digital space. You can adjust that to whatever you like. So you can change from viewing sessions to viewing users. You can change, edit your page views. Maybe you want to see bounce rate instead of page views. You want to, there's many ways of measuring what's happening on your website. And I showed you a little bit in Search Console. You can compare data from this month to last month. You can do the same here. You can compare and view more than one item on a panel if you like. So if you want to measure how many people have arrived, what is the revenue I've received from that, how many people have sold product, what's my bounce rate, how many people have gone to my cart and left. You can measure a lot of things from here, and you can tweak it to suit your needs and the things you want. So I've come to the last slide. I'm going to pop out of this and quickly take you through to a live session, a live website. Can you find it for a second? I don't see any questions. Is everybody okay? Any questions that you want to ask?
Nothing in the chat box, Renato.
I've got a question, Renato.
Yeah.
I think I'm stuck on the old version of Google Analytics, and I can't figure out how to change it to the new version. Do you know what I mean?
What part of the new version? So is it the reporting part, the measurement part, or the look and feel part?
When I log into Google Analytics, it looks completely different to what I think it should be for according to the Googling that I've done.
Are you sure that stuff that you're looking at is not outdated? I mean, I know my website, my presentation is a little bit outdated from a look and feel perspective. I mean, do you see this? This is fairly new on my screen.
Hang on a second. Let me just try view mine at the same time. No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like that. It looks completely different.
Okay, that's not it. I know that they automatically switched everybody over at a certain point recently to the new system. Is there nothing in the top right corner for you? Yeah, there's usually a button to change look and feel.
In the top right corner. No.
And over here, let's have a look. It's not that. It's access management. No, there's permissions. No, I don't see anything here. View settings. I don't. I
Okay,
can't answer your
not to
question.
worry. Sorry?
Sorry. I said I can't answer your question. I'm not too sure.
No, not to worry.
Okay, so this is kind of the home view when you first open up. As you can see, it's a little bit different from what we saw in the presentation. It doesn't have all the fancy buttons at the top here. Things have moved to the side at the bottom left. Let me just zoom in. I know I always have this problem. So this kind of stuff used to be at the top. It's now moved to the side. This is the home screen when you log in. So at the moment, we're measuring how many users have visited. What has the change been over the last 30 days? We can change this to any kind of range that you want. You can set up your custom. You can compare last week to this week, last month to this month. Let me just scroll down a little bit so we can see some more. And I mean, if that doesn't suit you, you can set up your own custom time for the specific dashboard. We're measuring users. That's what you're seeing here. So this dotted line is last month. This is current, the dark blue line. If we click on sessions, you get a similar view. As I mentioned, you can move your mouse around and click on various things, and you can kind of see what's changed and what's been measured. This is bounce rate. Last month, everything you click on is change the view. It gives you an idea of what it is. You can click on this audience overview, or you can go to the menu on the right, on the left over here. There's no active users at the moment. Your website might be a bit different. There'll be a little bar over here showing you page view and real-time data. Again, there's either a link over here, or you can use the link on the left-hand side in the menu. There's obviously ways you can change this. So you can change your dashboard. As you can see, Data Studio offers you various other looks and feels. You can use these. If you click on it, it takes you to Data Studio. You can select the kind of report that you want. It will then sit underneath here as a dashboard, and you can click on it and have your, the home view, whatever you decide, look a bit different. You can set up your own reports. I think, Monet, if you're still on, we were having a discussion about this not so long ago. You can set up a report to do certain things, measure certain things. You can have this is quite a big thing. You can have a lot of information on here. You can have comparison data. If you've set up your reports, you can actually set it up to send you an email once a month or once a week in a PDF format. It will get sent through to you. You don't have to log in here, all the time. You can have the report sent to you. So you can create your own custom reports, use a template that's available. If you've created any of your own and you've saved it, you can find saved reports. You can set up alerts to do certain things for you. So if you wanted to send a report, if something happens in your traffic, you can, if a specific amount of users visit your website, or you've had certain people visit from a certain city with a certain language, if you're requiring, you can set up alerts to do a whole bunch of things for you, and you can have them delivered to you in a day, week, month. You can have it sent to you via an email, and then in the email, when you receive it, there's actually links in there to take you through to your page. So that's the customization side. There's a little bit of insight. I think you see something similar in Search Console. It just doesn't have as much information. Again, you can click on the insights over here, dig into the report. There's a bit of blurb if you need some advice on different kinds of reports. There's a lot of referrals, a lot of insights. Google is nice like that. If you're not sure what it means, there's, what do trends means. It gives you like a bit of information about your website. You can change it. You can go to the report. If you're not sure what it is, there's usually a little bit of information you can click on, like a little eye with a circle in it, and go to that report as an example. So you can kind of see users, where they've come from, was it organic or direct? So direct is typing in your actual address. Organic is if they've gone through a Google. Most of the users obviously come through organic search. If you're not too sure, there's always information, help and assistance that Google offers to help you understand what they mean by that. The behavior one is the one I wanted to show as well, which is quite nifty. It's quite insightful. So you can kind of see how many people have come from your landing page. And it looks like it was a blog of some sort. They came from a blog and they landed on this page. They then left after the home page. So most times people go a little further if your website's engaging and it's got many call to actions, and you guide a visitor through a process. So they'll land on your home page, something will pop up and say, hey, we're running a promo or a special, and they click on that banner, which then takes them to the promo page. You'll kind of see the process and how it's working. If you've created that flow that you want people to follow, this page will tell you where they're dropping off. So this kind of tells you, after this blog, they didn't go any further and left. In these guys' case, this path will probably from your perspective, it will probably change if you're tracking a sale specifically. It'll show you next page that they clicked on. Did they get to the page that you want them to? Great. Did they click on the product description? Great. Did they click on buy now? Great. Where did they drop off? After the thank you, which is exactly what you're measuring, and that's what you want. If it doesn't work that way, you can kind of see, well, we got them to that point. Something's not working there. We need to review the page or review the product or whatever it is. These, as you can see, well, I know that these were all blogs that were written, and these were all links into direct pages. And you can obviously zoom in, zoom out, see a bit more information. And that's today, so I'm not going to refresh it. You can change the level of detail that you see on the report. You can change what you're viewing on this page. You can change segments. You can add segments, and you can compare bounce sessions to direct traffic. Did they make a purchase? Are there things from a system perspective? What has been shared, if anything's been shared? So did they share follow us on Facebook, links with a friend through WhatsApp? And you can do a whole bunch of things in here. This is from a behavior perspective. Let's just watch time. Real-time kind of speaks for itself. You can see there's a visit on the website. You can kind of see nice graphically where they're actually sitting, how long have they spent on the website, how many views they've had in that time, how did they find you. So this person found them on mobile. I'm assuming they read this. They're busy reading this blog at the moment, which is great for them, getting traffic from Cape Town. Real-time locations, obviously we know this guy's in Cape Town. You can see there's South Africa. You can click on it and drill down. You see that from Cape Town. If you click on it and potentially drill down and see what area they're in. So these guys generally advertise in the Sandton area. You could drill down into that information from here. Maybe you can see where they're sitting. No, that doesn't work. Traffic sources. So this is organic. They did a search for, I'm assuming, how to install it. Let's go and have a look. Let's go back here. What were they reading? So how to install a sliding door lock. They're obviously doing a search from Google, so we can kind of, Google agrees it's organic traffic. You could drill in to see, what they're actually reading. We know what they're doing. You can see they're reading the page on this, with the page titled that. This is where the page is actually kept on your website. There's nothing on this page. There's no call to action. So I know that in advance, but if there was a call to action, you can kind of see if they've done anything, if they've actually reached that part of the page and clicked the button or filled in a form, and that would kind of be where you kind of measure your conversions as well. So quite nice. You can see this all live, which is great. Then let's have a look at audience. So the overview is just a top level view of who they are. You can kind of change your metrics again. You can compare it against something, new users against existing users. So how Google measures that is, I'm sure you've been onto a website these days, and you'll get a little pop-up that slides in from the bottom or from the top or from the side or fills the whole screen and says, hey, our website actually uses cookies. Do you accept, or do you want to manage the cookies, kind of thing? So Google reads those cookies, your website reads from those cookies, and it allows Google Analytics to using those cookies to see what people are actually doing and where they've come from. So the cookie tracks, this user A has been from this website to that website to Facebook, has done the following things, has filled in these forms, and it tracks that information and feeds it back to you. So you can kind of say, well, are these new users? Have they been to my website before? Do I have a stamp in that cookie that we're using? Can we compare them against, have they been, have they visited us at a previous stage? How long do they stick around on our website? You can do that obviously on an hourly basis, on a weekly, monthly basis. You can compare current users to new users, how long they've spent on the page. You can dig a lot further into your audience. Where are they coming from? What is their language? What country they're viewing from? What is their browser? Like what operating system? As you can see, a lot of people visit from an Android phone, which obviously that's a phone. And this information kind of helps you make your visitors' experience better on your website. So if like these guys use a phone a lot, so is my website mobile friendly? If not, you can kind of fix that. I think your number, if it wasn't mobile friendly, would look very different here. You could have a look at where they're visiting from, so from Windows. So if you're busy planning a redesign of your website, there are certain fonts that Windows has by default built into the operating system. You can decide, well, I want to change the look and feel of my website, and the font is one of them. Is this font available on the Windows system? You can do a bit of research. Okay, great, it is, and you can use that font. Whereas if you use a weird font that you have to download and install on your website, when somebody from Windows views it, they'll see it as a standard, generic Google Windows type font. If it isn't installed on the website, they're not going to get that feel. Acquisition is kind of like, where did they come from? Is it social media? Is it organic? Is it direct? So did they type in www.yourwebsite.co.za? That's direct. Do you have any social platforms? How many users have come from there? And you can kind of drill down into which social media platforms they come from. You can set goals. If you have any, is there any URLs you've shared on Facebook? As you can see, these guys have all come from Facebook. So they do a bit of marketing on Facebook, which makes sense. We've gone through the behavior. I'm not going to do that again. Conversions. So if you've got any goals set up, you can kind of see how they're working for you. Are people doing what you want them to do the right way? Are they seeing things through to the end? Like, is it easy for them to find my product and buy it, put it in the cart and pay for it? And you can kind of see how these things are working under the goal section. If you've got an e-commerce store, you'd obviously be measuring products. You can measure your sales performance, how many transactions you've had. This isn't an e-commerce website, so it's data here. And if you've created any funnels, you can view how they're working for you. Cool. Any questions? It's very quiet today. Generally becomes quiet on analytics and ads.
It is quiet, and there's nothing in the chat box either.
Renato,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm very well, and you?
All right, thank you. You obviously, do you have to have Google My Business set up to use Google Analytics?
Not at all. No, you don't. You can have just Google Analytics on its own set up. Again, you just got to have a platform that you can measure from.
Okay.
So like a website, or or a landing page.
So just to go back to that, to be able to use Google Analytics on a specific website, you would have to add code into the website.
Correct. Yes. So this tracking info, it gives you a code. You'd have to copy this tag across onto the website. Or if you're using any tools, you'd probably use this little number over here that you plug into the tool.
And that code allows only you to access whatever information is coming from that website.
Well, whoever's got access into the analytics panel, if you like.
So I'm saying if there's a website and you've got 5 different users and they're all using Google Analytics, they would get a different code that would have to be added to the website.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And if you have a website where, say for example, you do shopping and you've got pages that relate to different products from different suppliers, it's all run through your website. Could you get a report just on those pages, so you can send it to your client who you sell products for?
Yes, absolutely. Again, it's how you set up the profile, and you can actually set up goals and to obviously monitor those pages with specific things. So each goal, so you wouldn't have one goal just to monitor the page. You'd have a goal that kind of monitors where the people come from, how they get to your page. You'd have a goal that kind of says, are they scrolling up and down my page and clicking on it, if there's links and things like that. So yes, you can monitor it that way. You could obviously create a section that specifically monitors a page, and you can put all your different goals, tracking, items that you want to view into an element, if you like. So you can create an element for each page that has various information on it. Yes, you can drill down all the way to that kind of level on a specific page.
Okay, so I know it's a question I come back to all the time. The website is not. I haven't got control of the website. I work for a property company, so I would have to get them to put the code into the website with my specific code. But then I would have access to all the pages. They couldn't specify what pages I can get Google Analytics on and which pages I can't.
They can. So depending on how they install the code, as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, there's a couple of ways that you can install the code. So one is if you give them the code, which is that, which was this. And they stick it onto your pages only, then you can only track your pages. But if they go to stick that code into the header file, the header template, if you like, that header template gets used across every single page on the website. Then you'll be able to track every single page.
Okay, so they can actually set their code up for my pages specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
If the pages are static, when I say static, I mean if the page name doesn't change. So in your case, if they add new properties and it filters down into your page,
they would have to add it to that page.
Yes. But if they create a new page for every single property that they add, they're going to have to add it to that page every time.
Every single time, Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Sean.
Just one more question. Sorry, Renato.
Sure.
If you're on your website and you click from your website to a page outside your website, you're not going to be able to track that page, just the click.
Yes, that's where you see the drop off.
Okay.
So this page here, when they click off of your website, this is where you get the drop off. So they leave this. The drop off means they've left your website.
Yeah. So just a question: if you've got that code and you can put it into specific pages, can you put that same code into different websites?
Sure, but I wouldn't do that. I would segment it off and create a code for each website. So if we go back to the admin panel, you can kind of see here, this is an account, and then there's a property here. So if you wanted to put it onto another website, I'd create a new property, which gives you all of this again.
Yeah. So
then obviously under, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's how you differentiate them.
Okay, so the reason I was asking is because if I create a landing page in an external way, say from MailChimp or one of those things, and then I jump from there into one of my pages on my website.
Yes.
Can you, in theory, use the same code in both websites?
So
in theory,
let's talk about MailChimp specifically. MailChimp, you can connect to Google Analytics. You can use the codes and things like that. There's an integration process.
But then you can use the same code in MailChimp and your external website or your specific website.
Yes, that makes more sense because then you'll be able to track
what's happening
on that specific property. Yeah.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to use a different code on MailChimp to the one that's on your website because
you want to track
it's not going to give you the information that you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Clearly. Awesome.
Okay.
Any more questions? I think we're done.
So, Renato, thank you so much for another absolutely incredible webinar. For everyone that's